The Very Serious Crafts podcast is on Patreon. Visit patreon.com/seriouscrafts to support our podcast, find out about our Patreon half-stitched episodes, and more.
Hello, and welcome to Season 4, Episode 10 of the Very Serious Crafts podcast. I'm Molly from Wild Olive.
And I'm Haley from Red Handled Scissors and the Bones and Bobbins podcast. Today, we'll be talking about moldy crafts, as in things that use molds.
Yes. Nothing gross here, hopefully.
I sincerely hope not. But before we jump into talking, we want to give a shout out to all of our serious friends of the Very Serious Crafts podcast who are supporting us at patreon.com/seriouscrafts. Many thanks to you all.
Yes.
You are the best.
We love you. We love you.
It's true.
Yeah. So I suggested this after that we talk about things that we use molds for in crafting. After Haley sent me the most delightful, was it a reel on Instagram? Yeah, of unmolding some gorgeous resin buttons.
Oh, it was so satisfying. Weren't they like pressed flowers?
Yes.
Or dried flowers in them?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
They were stunning. And the process of that, like watching them unmold, that in itself was wonderful. But then when you consider the craftsmanship that goes into that,
yeah, they were
even
perfect.
More special.
Yeah, let me see if I can track down the name of that person. So I can credit them.
We'll definitely plan on having it in the show notes so that you can all enjoy that.
Indeed.
And also, I would just, as an aside, here in the Chicagoland area, as we're recording, it's very warm, and I have windows open, and there's the start of a thunderstorm, and there's been birds and other things, so I just may be a little bit on the louder side today, but it's either that or I melt. So
I think that's fine.
And then you'd pour me into a mold.
Well, I like my Molly content any way I can get it.
Okay.
I
will say, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say whether you're in a mold or not, and then I found the button unmolding video, and I am once again mesmerized.
Excellent.
Yes, the person who posted this delightful reel is Kate's Tangled String. And I will add that right to the show notes.
Perfect. Yeah, so
that was on Instagram, by the way.
Yes. We've talked about some things that use molds, or in like the idea of creating molds from different things along the way, but this seemed like a fun thing to talk a little bit more about, some of the things that we have made or have wanted to make, some of our favorite things that we've seen. And
I've done a surprising amount of resin crafting for someone who doesn't resin craft.
I've still not done it, although as it's become, I don't know, because now it's like super trendy. Like you can just go and buy.
Oh, has it come around again?
It has come around, and I know that like Joanne sells them, and I don't know why I haven't done it. Maybe recording this will.
It's a pain in the butt. I mean, it's the process is not as easy as one might want it to be. Right. Although I love me some UV resin. I like that instead of super glue in most things.
Okay.
For repairing.
Okay.
I assume that you can use it on a larger scale, but if you owned a tanning salon, You could make some gigantic, like tabletops.
Well, I did
that came out of nowhere.
I did see this really cool, they looked like wood cutting boards with a big stripe of resin down the middle.
Oh, yeah. I've seen tabletops with
I
filled
couldn't find
in
a source
resin
on it, but it was, I thought, ooh, that's delightful. And it was like, colorful. So it was, although obviously the clear variety with things in it would be very nice.
know the Japanese mending with gold?
Yes, with gold, yeah.
I have seen like old furniture, like old wooden furniture that is cracked or separated with age. I've seen resin used in a really similar way to smooth it out and fill in separated cracks and stuff. Yeah, it makes me happy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, obviously, I need to go and like buy one of these kits to just dabble in. We know that that's always dangerous, but I could dabble. I could dabble in resin craft with one of those, right? We won't talk about the other kits I have that I've not made. Yeah, there you go.
I have technically dabbled. I have made 2 tutorials during that dabbling.
Yeah.
One of which I just don't understand how it did not take off because it's really cool. Yeah. And I'm mad about it still. This was a tutorial I wrote in 2014, to be clear, and I'm still mad about it.
I can relate to that.
Yeah.
There's times when I've made a thing and I think, why am I the only person that thinks this is a good idea? What is happening?
Yeah, this was my thread spool resin bangle bracelet.
Yeah.
And it's so cool. I don't understand. I mean, I wasn't very good at resin crafting at the time because I did not know to seal things. But even though I did not, or I can't remember if I faked trying to seal them or not. But even so, like, it's cool looking.
It is. Yeah. All right. Again, we'll put the link to that in the show notes because... I'm
just saying.
Listeners, you could help Haley's post finally go viral.
I mean, I put it up on Craft. If it was gonna go viral, it would have.
maybe now is the right time, is all I'm saying.
Okay, fine.
You never know.
Fine. I'm adding it to the show notes.
Okay, all right. I love, like, I've seen kits where they're making like molded letters in beautiful colors and stuff, and I just think that I need to try that.
Oh yeah,
I
have a cousin who does that.
Okay, yeah, and I feel like maybe on Handmade Charlotte they did a kind of like a review of one of the kits like that, and so I think I may have seen that there too. But anyway,
that sounds right.
Although I have not molded any resin, I have done some molding of plaster. Which is also fun, and you end up with a bit of a chemical thing going there because if you've never molded plaster before, when you mix that up, it gets really hot, and you don't expect that, but it's very cool. And I have molded plaster with children, which is a fun process to have them suddenly experience these things as well. But I have a little bit more plaster molding experience.
I think one of these might have been paper mache, but I think that I only have 2 probably plaster molding experiences.
Okay.
One, it's a death mask.
Okay.
Because me.
Sure. Yeah.
And that is a thing that used to happen when photography wasn't a thing, and death masks were collectibles.
I could see that.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yep. And
it's a little weird, but I get it.
They're really cool because they're so detailed.
Yeah.
But there is also so do you happen to remember a concert tour called the Warped Tour?
Yes. I never went, but I was very familiar with it.
I am unsurprised that you did not go. As unsurprised as you will be that I did. So at one of those, for reasons that I'm really unclear about, I have no idea how I ended up in the breast cancer awareness booth working.
Okay.
Or I was volunteering, I guess for the Red Cross, maybe? I assume for free tickets. I don't really remember.
Sure, I could see that. That would make sense. That's logical.
But the thing that I was doing was like teaching people how to give self-exams, but also as part of that, I was making plaster molds of their chests.
I mean, why wouldn't you? Did they get to take them home?
I think so. I mean, I just remember being like, well, let me see the girls. And like all the Vaseline required to get
I was thinking the process of doing this at a concert festival kind of thing. I mean,
honestly, people were fine with it.
I'm sure, but also this isn't just like a quick thing.
No, they had to hang out with me for a while.
Yeah.
And the plaster set relatively quickly. That's what it was. The plaster set enough to remove it.
Sure.
Relatively quickly. And then it had to hang out with me for several hours.
Yeah.
Or till the end of the day or whatever.
Yeah.
And people either did or didn't come collect their imprints. And I think the rest of them were maybe going to be part of an art installation. So like all very wholesome activities and like raising cancer awareness, teaching young people how to screen. Like it was really cool. But who came up with that?
Yeah.
And this must have been in the late 90s, early 2000s, before this would have been a problem.
I mean, yeah, there are factors to consider here, but
yeah. I mean, also, I am deeply harmless. So
well, obviously, yeah.
I do not inspire controversy when it comes to that sort of thing.
Right.
And there were privacy screens. Like, this wasn't just...
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, but... Yep. I had forgotten about that until this very moment.
It's a thing that you can say... My experiences are more like using IKEA ice cube molds. They're not quite as exciting. But like silicone baking molds or...
Oh, yeah.
The flexible IKEA ice cube trays they're excellent for this, even though they're not designed for molding plaster at all.
Oh, I use those for candle making.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm
presumably soap making would also work.
I have a bunch of candle molds and not candle molds.
Yeah.
You would be amazed at the things that candle molds are shaped like.
Uh-huh.
And, like, I am not prissy in any way. But, like, I don't understand the shapes that people want novelty candles in. And I'm not even talking about the obvious shapes that come to mind. But, like, pyramids and Like, but not just the geometric shape,
Right.
but like with markings and
Mm-hmm.
skulls, lots of skulls. That I understand. But like things that would look distinctly weird as they melted, like cats. Or
right, that's disturbing to melt your cat. Not your cat, but
that's what I'm saying. Anyone's cat.
Well,
but yeah, I find that to be a thing.
I don't know. I mean, I definitely, I mean, we could go down like a whole candle make. I mean, I guess candles is a moldy craft at times, not always, but it can be. But yeah, I also, like, I remember growing up where not just like, you know, like Yankee Candle obviously is a whole candle store, or can be a whole candle store, but like I remember the era of candle stores where do you remember those ones that they would use? Like, often people would have them as like a special wedding candle, where it like they would like cut down and it would like fold and bend over and make these like loopy candles. Obviously not molded, but
those? Candle carving.
But like
that is an extremely skilled thing. Have you ever seen videos of people doing it?
Yes, it's amazing. Yeah. But like the era of that being like a big thing, like where you would go to the mall and you would go to the candle store, they would have molded candles of everything, and I'm sure that
smelled terrible.
Yeah, a lot of them were funky.
Like they just weren't good candles.
Right. So, but yeah, candles.
Yankee Candle aside, that's its own thing. That is a pretty high quality product.
Right, exactly. But yeah, you're right.
But
like
novelty.
Weird shaped candles. I mean, there's something for everyone, obviously.
And pretty much anything you can buy a silicone baking mold of, you can make that a candle.
Yeah. Yeah, or plaster. Mm-hmm. On the plaster molding conversation.
Yeah.
As a child, I absolutely adored the molded plaster ornaments that you could buy and paint. I painted those.
Oh, yeah.
All the time. Like, my mom just would like set me up in the kitchen with a box full of those things, give me some paint, and I was good to go for hours.
That just reminds me of children's church.
Yeah.
When the kids would get dismissed from the main service and go off with the youth pastor, that was definitely one of the activities that happened during those times. I think we also did it in like my elementary school or whatever.
Yeah.
But we did an ornament exchange when Craft Magazine still existed, and all of my fellow editors and I made ornaments for each other.
Yeah.
And someone, I don't think it was me, painted some of those.
Yeah.
And like, what a delight.
Yes. I mean,
did you make them or did you buy the pre?
I bought them.
Yeah, me too.
Pre-made, because they were, inexpensive and they'd go on sale. However, this is where it gets fun, and I know you will love this.
Yes.
I have a kit. Well, I have the remains of a kit, I should say. It was an old set called Pin Money. And
called what?
Pin Money. That's what it was
Pin
called.
Money.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the idea was that you could make molded plaster pieces, make them as pins, and sell them. It was literally promoted as a way for, I suppose, kids or,
adorable.
Yes. So
I don't actually know where that phrase came from, Pin Money. For those of you who don't know what that means, it's like your allowance.
Well, there you go. So they used it for this, and I bet I have a blog post where I showed pictures of it, and I didn't think about that until just now. Yes, I'm gonna put this in. But so what it came with, I assume, originally, was the plaster that you needed, and potentially also the maybe some paints and other things. but then it has these molds that you would use, and you could buy extras and it tells, there's like a little catalog in the box showing
this is sounding
the different
really
designs.
familiar.
But then there were small ones that you could use for pins, and then larger ones to do wall plaques. And so they came with the ones that they show in this catalog have like different fruits and stuff. So you see them in the catalog, and you can picture these things hanging on someone's walls in their kitchen.
Yeah.
So I have the molds that it came with. I have one mold that it came with, and then I have an unused mold that I ordered on Etsy, and I have still not opened it and tried it because I'm a little nervous about that. I don't know how well it would hold up, but it was such a cool idea for a kit and very in line with what you would see now in kits.
It's a very cool idea.
Yeah.
I just looked them up, and that's neat. Oh, and your post is number 3 on the Google search results.
Yeah, I think it's not a super common thing to find on the internet, but
oh, that's really cool.
But it's a fun thing, and the box alone is delightful,
Yes.
But yeah, so that was, I should actually open up the unused mold and give it a try. But yeah, that's a fun one. And again, they're really, there's something enjoyable about that. I did then also do a little bit of digging on Instagram for some different things, and I've included a few links for your enjoyment, and I'm going to actually start with a plaster related one, which is a full 45-minute IGTV tutorial on making plaster relief with real leaves and flowers.
Cool.
Yeah, and it's by I think it's Botanopia. I don't know how you say that properly. It's like botanical and opia.
Plaster work is really hard. I just remembered that my friend Maddie, she has been doing restoration work on an old house, and almost nobody, she lives in a pretty, like a suburban area of a pretty big city in the South, and almost nobody has the skills to do real plaster work with actual plaster anymore.
Yeah.
And watching her learn how to patch and do all sorts of things. Like in my apartment, we have molding.
Yeah.
That is real plaster work, and I assume that it's called molding because it came out of
molded
molds.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things that if you have a historic location, there are like maybe 5 people in the country who can do that kind of work, and probably 4 of them are 80.
Yeah. One of the things, though, that I saw when I was looking stuff up is someone who is making 3D printed molds for making those kind of molding pieces out of plaster.
Oh, that's cool. I think I've actually seen that in some restoration work for maybe like museum restoration.
Okay. That makes sense. Because then
the museums that are location specific.
Yeah.
I've seen that, and maybe on this old house.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's really cool. That is an entire rabbit hole that we could really go down at some point.
Yes. Also, speaking of rabbit holes. Okay.
Yes.
Briefly, I found some resin molded custom My Little Ponies, and that's all I'm going to say. What? They're amazing, and everyone has to go look at that. I'll put it in the show notes. Okay. That could be a whole other thing, because custom toys like that, let's talk about that sometime. I know. But before, don't don't freak out yet, because then there is the rabbit hole of custom or just like fancy resin dice. And oh my goodness.
Oh, that I know all about from D&D folks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I don't play any of the like well-known dice games, but my mom loves dice. And any like unusual ones
I could see that as a like collection.
Yeah.
I have a set of dinosaur dice.
Oh, cool. I've never gotten her these kinds of fancy dice though. Well, I just found ones with dried flowers in them, and then others with like, gold bits in them, and they're just beautiful. I think that might need to be a mom gift at some point.
Oh boy, do I have some links to send you later.
Okay. All right. Good. I started looking, and then I kept getting more and more excited, and I now Instagram knows to send me pictures of those things, so I'm probably gonna see more of that.
We should probably, I guess, reel it in at some point soon. Yes. But I just remembered a molding piece of my childhood that I had completely forgotten, and it was creepy crawlers that came with a real molding oven and like metal molds, and you could swap them in and out. This was like Easy Bake Oven era of the 80s.
And the gooey plastic stuff.
Yep. Yeah, that was probably really bad for you.
Probably, yeah. But then they re-released it. Yeah, my mom had the old kit, and then we got a new one as well. I forgot about those as well.
I bet that old kit was a terrible idea. I'm actually looking at photos of the old kit, and it's a terrible idea.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I definitely had the new one. But I think I had whatever the girl version was.
Yes, I was thinking, remember. I know there's
because I feel like there was a difference.
I'm going to have to dig into that. Yeah, I mean, and I don't remember, in the 80s one, were the molding plates metal? I know that they were in the old one.
Yeah, well,
because those things came out hot.
I think they were in the early 80s versions, but there's a later 80s version with some sort of weird pump on top. But I think the one that I had was metal.
Okay, I'm going to have to... Yeah, I had forgotten about this. I'm so glad you remembered and brought this up. Because, but I feel like my brother had one that he got when he was younger, and that would have been the 90s. So,
yeah, there is definitely...
Now I've got to look.
I think maybe the one I'm looking at is the 90s.
Gosh, I didn't even...
the one with the weird pumping thing.
I didn't even think about this. I think we've talked about, we should discuss crayon crafts at some point, but I also had... Actually, I have 2 Crayola crayon makers where you can melt down your crayons, and they come with... And there's different shaped crayon molds and everything. That was amazing.
Oh, that's fun.
And I will not get rid of them.
No, never.
They're so cool. Yeah, they're so
That is amazing.
Yeah. I owned one, and then a friend gave me one as a college graduation gift because he knew that I would be delighted with that, and he was right.
Well, yeah. Oh, that is...
Yeah.
That's fun because I always had a pristine box of crayons, and then the crayons I used because orderly. Yeah. It needed to be orderly.
The nice thing about it is that you can melt down and make fresh new crayons all the same color, or you can make swirly multicolor crayons and whatever shades you like.
I feel like I like that as an art concept, but I would just twitch in horror trying to use a swirled crayon.
Yeah, it's, I will say, like, swirled crayons that you buy, sometimes I disagree with their color mashups. So this
remedies that.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Anyway, all right. Oh, I'm so glad that we remembered those things at the last minute.
Me too. I don't know what made me think of them, but
I'm glad you did.
Yeah. Well, we should probably wrap things up on creepy crawly note.
Yeah. This was I would say potentially this episode broke the mold. I don't know. Maybe not.
Oh. All right.
Okay.
I'll allow it. Thanks for listening to the Very Serious Crafts podcast. You can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Serious Crafts and on Facebook at Very Serious Crafts. You can also find show notes plus all things Very Serious Crafts at veryseriouscrafts.com. And finally, if you're a fan of the Very Serious Crafts podcast, please leave us a 5-star review on whichever platform you use to listen to podcasts. Good ratings help us show up in recommendations, which helps other people who love crafting find us.
Yay!
Yay!
All right. I approve of this message. And molding things.
Excellent. Yeah. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.